All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Thanks for coming to the talk. The topic, of course, is tracking and monitoring Wi-Fi devices without being connected to them. My name is Caleb Madriga. I live here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My public hacker handle is Metim. My private hacker handle, you cannot know. I don't know if any of you are feds. I have my website, Twitter handle there. I'm also a ham radio person, so my call sign is WooHack, which is kind of cool. Vanity call signs are free, by the way, now, which is cool. You don't have to pay. Processing the payments was more expensive than they made from it. My day job, I work for FireEye on the Mandiant side, doing incident response software, which is really fun. Over the last few years, I've been pretty interested in Internet of Things kind of stuff. Actually, before I even knew that was what it was called. I made my own little wireless security home monitoring system with a Raspberry Pi and breaking open a remote control for wireless outlets. A couple years ago, I'm also interested in the security side. Last year I did like a little file crypto app. A couple years ago, I did kind of a deep dive into like wave processing, mainly from the audio processing standpoint. And it's been really interesting though because, you're looking at stuff like Fourier transforms and being able to look at waves and analyze them. And you can do an amazing number of things by looking at waves. So, that was audio analysis, but a lot of what we're going to be talking about today kind of comes back to waves are still involved with wireless security. So I've also been really into software-defined radio over the last few years. I got a little hack RF. First thing I did was try to do a replay attack on my Jeep, and it worked, which kind of scared me. Most cars, you have to do more. So I kind of got in, did some simple stuff with software-defined radio, and then got a little more complicated. And I went into things like modulating digital signals from scratch using pure math. So can I just, given a binary number, modulate it, send it out over the wireless SDR and control things? And turns out the answer was yes. So I did things like controlling wireless outlets by generating the code from pure math and sending that out. If you see me in a coffee shop and you see like a ton of antennas, it might be me. But kind of backing up for a minute, like a lot of the stuff I've done over the last few years has been mostly wireless security. And I really like it's so much fun. It feels like magic. It feels kind of like one of the closest things to magic that I've seen. So there's this invisible energy all around us that permeates us, and it's radio waves, right? And if you know what you're doing and you can listen to this invisible energy, it can tell you things that maybe you shouldn't even know. And if you write magical incantations into computers, you can make things happen in the physical world. It reminds me of, I used to play Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. I was so addicted. And, it was a lot of fun, playing like a sorceress or whatever and leveling up my character and gaining these skill points. And this feels kind of like that. Like, it's just like a lot of fun. You can learn new skills and do like magic. And so I hope for this talk to you today, it'll be kind of for you, maybe gaining a new skill point or maybe leveling up a skill that you already have, and maybe even gaining a new weapon or tool. And so wireless security, it's becoming more and more powerful as time goes on. So, doing like a quick scan of like the Milwaukee wireless frequencies that are registered, things like SCADA systems that control the sewer systems come up, which is interesting, and you have the frequencies right there you can see. But like, in general, IoT, Internet of Things stuff is like, it's like plus 5,000 to all of your wireless hacking abilities, because more and more things are becoming dependent on wireless communication. Obviously, you got things like your Nest home security system, but and maybe your refrigerator, but things like cars are becoming more dependent on wireless security. And obviously, tons of things are. Wi-Fi, cell phones, GPS. Obviously, the list goes on. And so today, though, what we're going to be talking about is specifically raw 802.11 monitoring. And just to kind of give you my motivation in why I started looking into this. So I think it was a couple months ago. I have a number of home security devices. I have some wireless security cameras. I have sirens, and I can activate, I have a little security system where if I say, turn it, sound the alarms, sirens and strobe lights will go off and lights will come on and stuff like that. But not because there's been this explosion in vendors and devices in IoT stuff. Not everything can talk to each other very well. Some of my security cameras couldn't talk to my security system. And I wanted to, if my security camera sees motion and the system is activated, I wanted all the alarms to come on. And so I started thinking about, well, how can I do that? I could try to tap into the API calls, but they're encrypted, and I could try to root the camera, but that's a lot of work. So I thought of a really simple solution, which is to just do raw 802.11 monitoring. And ultimately, these cameras are, upload videos to the cloud. And so to do that, they have to send the video to the cloud. And obviously, as soon as they are triggered, they want to upload the video as fast as possible, because if someone's broken into your house, they could destroy the camera. So basically, I basically said, okay, if I see a certain amount of data coming from the security camera's MAC address in some time window, I'm going to say that's a video upload. Trigger the alarm. And it worked wonderfully, actually. Just to do a couple demos here. So the first one, let me go ahead and open this up. And this is the security camera thing. And it sounds like this is not probably...
So right now I have Tracker set up to watch my Canary security camera, which has the MAC address 7C, 70BC, etc. And it has a threshold of, I think, 100,000 bytes in 10 seconds. And the idea is when the Canary sees motion, it needs to upload the video to the cloud. And that's going to take a good number of bytes.
I just said that.
That will then trigger, over there it is. Uh-oh, it's going to get loud. Watch out. You can see the siren go.
So,
Alright.
It's good recording. So yeah, that worked really well. And so that was really interesting. Just by looking at the number of bytes coming from the MAC address of the security camera, I could detect whether it was that it was uploading video. I had another. So that was sweet. That was a win. That was awesome. And one interesting thing about this, and we'll get into the details in a second, but I didn't have to be connected to my Wi-Fi to see that, because I'm actually at the raw 802.11 data level. And it hit me it's interesting because I could potentially see motion detection in neighbors' houses if they have security cameras. And actually, when I was looking at this, the security camera that I had, I actually, when I was testing it, I armed it and then tried it, and then I was still testing it when it was not armed, when it was in home mode, and it was still uploading the video when it saw motion. So that was kind of a surprise. And this was the Canary camera. Now, in their settings, you can actually disable that, which at least they give you that control. But it was cool. It was I found this feature accidentally. But looking at this, looking at not having to be connected to a Wi-Fi device and being able to track traffic from MAC addresses. I found, I thought, just thinking about it, there's other interesting things you could do, such as track people. Like if I wanted to track when my wife got home, it would be great if I was in an office and I could track when my boss was in the office, but I work from home. Anyway, so here's a quick little demo of tracking a cell phone using TrackerJacker. And so this was, let me go ahead and do this little quick demo. And I'll just mute this. So basically, I'll just talk through it. So I have my cell phone, and I had my cell phone in airplane mode, or I had Wi-Fi off rather. And so you could see I have my, can you guys still hear me fine?
Press the bottom of the unit, but I don't know why it was going on. Press and hold. Pull it out of there. And hold the bottom up. For about 5 seconds. And press it. See if you got anything.
Okay, I think we're back on. So anyway, yes, it'd be really funny if someone was trying to hack the wireless right now. Like, that would be really awesome. Congratulations. So anyway, my phone was had Wi-Fi off. You can see 0 bytes, and it was gathering in a 10-second window. And watch, as soon as I turn on the Wi-Fi, let's see, press the button. I look really serious. And there you are. So it detected almost instantly, which is pretty cool. Basically I just had a 1 byte threshold set up. So if I see any data from this MAC address, consider it detected. Okay, so let's get down to how this actually works and how you can do it if you want. So a quick primer or kind of refresher on how Wi-Fi works from a radio perspective. It's ultimately all just radio. So a wireless adapter is cool. It's just a radio that operates at certain frequencies. And you have various channels, which are really just defined frequencies that everyone's agreed upon. There may be some other minor things, but that's the main idea. And, you can have multiple access points nearby, and hopefully they're on different channels, and then they won't collide. There's various, the channels, again, we have certain frequency definitions for 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which are the two main ones. On the 2.4 gigahertz, often the channels overlap. Thankfully, on the 5 gigahertz, they don't as much. It's just radio, and ultimately it modulates digital data over those radio waves. And that's kind of a bit beyond the scope of this talk, but it's really cool stuff. Okay, so monitoring versus promiscuous mode. Can I see a show of hands of who's done some kind of Wi-Fi hacking where you use promiscuous mode? Okay, a good number of people. And how many have done monitor mode? All right, a few less. And hopefully all the people who have done monitor mode know the difference. But just to explore the difference between monitor mode and promiscuous mode, because at first when I got into this, I didn't quite understand it. So promiscuous mode, ultimately you're connected to a certain access point, an SSID. And, typically your Wi-Fi device, the way it normally works, it says, okay, if I see a packet that's addressed to my MAC address, then process it. Otherwise, discard it. And promiscuous mode basically just says, I don't care who it's addressed to, I want it. And so you can get all the packets on a given SSID. But something to keep in mind, when you connect to a wireless network, you're actually getting a cryptography key. And that way you can actually read all of the packets to an extent. At the data access layer, you can read the packets. And if you're outside the network, you don't have that decryption, that cryptography key. So you can only look at traffic from the network that you are attached to in promiscuous mode. Now in monitor mode, that's different. In monitor mode, you don't connect to any Wi-Fi access point. Instead, you're just getting you're grabbing the raw radio data out of the air. Now, something to keep in mind about this is, again, as I said, it's encrypted. So anytime you're using any kind of, SSID, if you connect to it, it encrypts the data, and people outside the network can't read it unless they hack it and stuff. But anyway, in monitor mode, we're just getting the encrypted data along with the metadata. So, how is that useful to us? Well, why not use monitor mode all the time? Because it's encrypted. So here's the stuff that, I thought of that you can kind of get out of monitor mode, raw 802.11 captures. You can implicitly get the time a packet was sent, of course, just based on the time that you receive it. You can get the MAC address that it was from, the MAC address that it's to, the BSSID, which is the access point's MAC address, basically, the SSID, and sometimes the ESSID, but I'm not going to get into that. And you can also get the encrypted data, which probably won't be useful to you unless you can decrypt it. And you also, because it's a radio, your wireless card actually can see the signal strength of any given message that it receives. So implicitly, you can potentially deduce some level of physical proximity from that. Now, what can you do with this? Well, as I pointed out, you can monitor security cameras and see when they see motion potentially. You can track the movements of people. You can also determine, which Wi-Fi or which Wi-Fi devices are associated with any given access point, because you can see them talking to each other and sending data packets. And that's actually another thing I didn't mention. You get is there's like management packets, control packets, and data packets. So you can actually see if it's sending data. And I should also point out that this tracking of people's movements, it was one of the things that came out with Snowden, but the government is actually using this to track people. And it's very, very simple to do. Keep in mind, you're not sending out any packets. You're not connecting to anything. You're simply passively monitoring radio waves over that you get. You can also, if you go into, if you actually send data in raw 802.11, you can do other things like do DDoS attacks, but we're not going to get into that in this talk. So anyway, how do you do these raw 802.11 captures in monitor mode? So I want to show you this from the Linux perspective using Kali, and I want to show you the raw commands. So you start off and you use ifconfig to see what's your wireless devices, and let's say it's WLAN 0 we're trying to use. You can use the iwdev command to get its physical interface ID. You can then run this command here to add basically to add a monitor device for that physical device. Delete the old one and up the new one. And then you have a wireless device that you can use in monitor mode. You can then, if you do ifconfig again, you'll see your monitor device. And then something to be aware of is, again, it's a radio. It's just a radio. And radios can't actually receive at every frequency simultaneously, and that's why there's channels. And when you're in raw mode, it's actually your responsibility to set the channel, to set the frequency of the radio, which is really cool. I think you can only set it to the defined channels, although theoretically you can write your own driver. But anyway, so you set it to the channel. You can do iwdev to see that it is indeed in the channel that I set. And from there, you can capture raw frames basically using any PCAP program. So it could be TCP dump, it could be Wireshark. I like to use Scapy myself. It's a Python library. And it's two commands, like, import the Scapy stuff, and then you do normal sniff, and you get the raw data frames, just like that. You can then analyze them, grab out things like the MAC address that it's from or that it's to. And so that's basically how you do it. Now, it was kind of part of this talk, but I actually developed a little tool to help with this called TrackingMonitoring, which you can see at the top. Anyway, it's called TrackingMonitoring, and it's a Python program that's based on Scapy. It only runs on Linux for now. To install it, it's just pip install. It's Python 3 only. And it basically lets you do a lot of the things that I wanted to do with some of these tracking and tracking things, as well as some functionality to map what is around me. What devices are sending radio waves that I can see, and how are they associated? What devices are on what SSIDs. So it can do all of that with a map functionality. You can see an example command that I used to track a MAC address. This was for the security camera tracking. Also, let's see, it's still running. It looks like it is. I am tracking all of you right now. If you have a wireless device that is on, I probably have your MAC address. That's true. And so spoofing is actually a very good way to avoid this. But just to show you kind of what the output of the map looks like, basically just lists a bunch of BSSIDs, and then the SSID that's associated with them, and the various MAC addresses that are associated with it on a channel-to-channel basis. So, channel 44, channel 40, etc. Now, if you'd like me to delete your MAC address, you can just give me your name and the MAC address, and I'll. I don't work for the government. So anyway, that's kind of Tracker Jacker. It's again, it's on it's on PyPy, so that's why you can pip install it. And the GitHub code is publicly available. You can probably just Google for it. A couple notes on the environment. So you notice I have a pretty serious looking Wi-Fi adapter here. It's really ugly, but the reason I have this one is because it's a dual band, so I can capture in both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, most of the channels. Most of the stuff I've done has been in Kali Linux running on a VM. And it works best if you run with an external adapter. A lot of internal adapters, especially if you're using it in a VM, you can't put them in monitor mode. So that's a big reason. And plus, you actually get much farther reach with an external adapter often. Also, as far as wireless devices, I've tested a few. This is a nice simple one. It's they're really cheap, $13 on Amazon. So this one works well. I'll try to post these notes somewhere online on CypherCon, probably on CypherCon's website. This is a good one. I tried another one by the TP-Link that didn't work very well because it's newer. The drivers aren't out there yet. A lot of TP-Links and especially a lot of alphas work. The alpha brand work really well. It's the one that I have. So anyway, a few takeaways. Wi-Fi is just radio. It's just a radio at the physical layer. And it's really interesting when you think about that and all the things you could potentially do. It's trivial to track Wi-Fi devices in monitor mode. And surprisingly interesting information can be obtained even though the packets are encrypted, looking just at the metadata. Of course, I introduced this new tool, Tracker Jacker. It's very much an alpha stage, by the way, but I'm adding new functionality. Hopefully we'll get Mac support if it's possible sometime soon. And how to not be tracked. If you're traveling and you don't want the government or some other organization to track your movements, it's probably best to just turn off your Wi-Fi. Some devices, actually iPhones are very good about this. When they are not attached to a particular access point, they actually randomize their MAC address for you, which helps them not be tracked, which is really great. So you can use an iPhone or turn off your Wi-Fi. But keep in mind, this doesn't mitigate this tracking ability completely. because ultimately when you attach to a local network that you've been a part of, it actually uses your real MAC address. That's one thing that's really interesting to me about a lot of this wireless security stuff compared to like binary exploitation is that, so, if you find a bug in a binary, that could be useful, but it's ultimately a bug that can be patched. In wireless security, a lot of the vulnerabilities that you find are systemic, and they are not easily patched. If you want to, there's almost no way that we, to mitigate a lot of these attack vectors. So that's really interesting. Thank you. I guess we have a few minutes if anyone has any questions. Yes.
Do you know if there's any wireless adapters that permit radar detector style listening to see if anyone's in monitor mode?
As far as I know, when you're in monitor mode, you simply don't give off any RF. So the answer is it's not even physically possible.
For some kinds of radios, radar detectors emit a signal that you can listen to.
So there might be some way with radio backscatter, but you're getting really esoteric at that point.
Okay.
So another one. Any other questions? Yes.
It used to be with the alphas, I think, that even the same model had a different chipset in it. Maybe they would do version 1 and version 2 and it wouldn't be listed. Have you found any of that anymore? And one of those chipsets had a Linux driver that supported it?
Yeah. So that the TP Link, the one, the little white one, basically the new version has a new chipset. It's also dual band, which is why I bought it, because I was like, sweet, it can do 2.4 and 5 gigahertz.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a pain. I haven't even got it working yet. I just got it 2 days ago.
But they changed the model number?
They did change the model number, so it's not the same model number, which is good. But yeah. Any others? Yes.
I'd like to say that I think that your presentation was very inspirational and interesting, and I'm curious as to what you do for a career.
I'm basically I write incident response software.
It's not very correlated. What made you want to go into your security camera and check all this out?
It's just fun. Like, I don't think I'm a control freak, but it's really cool being able to control stuff with computers in the physical world. It's like magic. It's cool to write stuff in a computer, and it runs in the computer and makes this world. But it's cool when you get outside of the computer. So that's kind of the big thing.